Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Bill Pollack. I'm the president and chief consulting analyst at Strategies for Growth. It's the company I founded 29 years ago. We're located in Westtown, Pennsylvania, suburb of Philadelphia. Over the last 29 years with my own company and basically 35 years or more working exclusively in covering the field services segment, I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of disruptions, whether it was terrorist disruptions, whether it was economic downturn disruptions, et cetera, and so forth. But this COVID-19 disruption is a lot different than everything else that we've experienced. I have spent a career telling our clients that you need to develop strategic plans for the near-term future, the intermediate-term future, and the long-term future. Things are different now because now there's a fourth element that precedes the other three, and that's for the immediate term. So, it doesn't pay to have a long-term plan if you're not going to survive the immediate term. So what I've done is I've written a number of analyst takes. There are versions of white papers, and they've been licensed by a number of vendors in the field service management sector. And I would encourage you to just do your Google searches. I'm not going to mention names now, but some of the premier field service management solution vendors have already licensed and have begun distributing some of our papers. What I wanted to do in this video podcast is to talk about just some of the highlights from one of the papers that we've written, which is entitled Turbulent Times Require Serious Solutions. That, I believe, is applicable across the board. However, I think it's even more applicable for the field services segment or any kind of services, customer service segment. So basically, what we've seen is that all of the things that we used to know are different now. Some of them are dead and gone. Some of them have changed only slightly, but most of them have changed quite a bit. What we're likely to see is differences. For example, the older conventional wisdom is let's do as many service calls as possible. And the newer conventional wisdom is let's try to avoid as many on-site calls as we can, particularly in light of the coronavirus. In the past, the customer used to call the vendor for service, and today it's the equipment that calls the vendor for service, if you will. The technician generally performed the repair on site, and now much more repair is being done remotely. And we've also seen, instead of the field tech performing the service, the customer is performing the service through instructions that are available in a customer portal or things of that nature. And what used to be hands-on repair has become virtual hands-on repair. Some of our clients are very deeply involved in remote expertise, and I would suggest that you also at least consider getting your services organization involved in remote expertise as well. Some other changes that we've seen take place is that, again, the old conventional wisdom is data in the cloud, feet on the street. And now it's data in the cloud, virtual service presence. Feet on the street was always too expensive, particularly if the field tech had to go back a second time to fix something. So there's a new paradigm for providing field service support. We just don't know exactly what it is yet. However, we can see the direction it's taking, and that's where we need to prepare in the immediate term to be able to handle that. So I just want to go through a few things that I see changing the marketplace. There's a transition away from the older SLAs or service level agreements that used to be based on number of times for preventive maintenance during the year, contractual obligations to arrive on site within 4 hours, 8 hours, next day, 2 days, etc., and so forth. And that's being changed to outcomes-based agreements in many cases. So that's the percentage of time that the factory assembly line is going to be working, the percentage of time that the ATM machine is going to be working, or the MRI instrumentation in a hospital. It gets a little exotic or esoteric in some cases, where Some SLAs are being based on the number of days without a rat appearing on a factory floor. So there are new ways to measure old things, but there are better ways to measure them. They come with a price, though, and particularly with pricing. How do you price some of these new outcomes-based SLAs? We're still shaking it out as an industry. Some providers are ahead of others in terms of that, but there's still going to be a little bit more shakeout. There's also going to be a much stronger adoption and usage of predictive diagnostics, predictive maintenance. The more you can predict what's going to happen, the quicker you can fix it, preferably remotely, before it does happen, and that keeps feet off the street. There are going to be changes in networking and partnerships and alliances. I think we're likely to see a spate of additional alliances between service organizations and vendors, perhaps, and systems integrators that we not only hadn't seen in the past, but we couldn't even envision that company A and company B are going to be working together. But it's a matter of survival, and it's a matter of being able, if the customer wants A, B, C, D, and E done, and you only do A, B, and E, you can't submit a proposal for just doing 3 out of the 5 things they want done. You need a partner. Working from home instead of an office is probably the biggest impact, or will have the biggest impact on the personnel themselves, but not so much on the process for getting things done. When you're talking to one of your customers or partners, it doesn't matter where you are when you pick up the phone or headset or text them. Again, there'll be some transitioning from a human and human resources perspective, but not so much for the process for getting things done in field service. I also envision a greater reliance on 3D printing. Why dispatch someone to deliver a part, or why ship a part when one of your clients can use a 3D printer that has come down quite a bit in price and print the part themselves, and then be led through the customer portal as to how to swap out parts or replace a gasket or what have you. There's also going to be greater use of customer self-support. Customers can be divided into 2 camps, really, those who can fix some things themselves and those that can't. You as a provider need to understand which ones are which, and this isn't on an average basis, 80% can, 20% can't. This is, on this list of 100 of our customers, we're never going to let these 20 customers fix something on their own, because every time they do, they really mess things up. So that's going to take a little way to adapt to. There's going to be what I call a move away from preventive maintenance to preemptive maintenance. And the thing that I'm thinking about is, the mean time between failures, MTBF, is one of the tried and true metrics that's been used since I entered the industry. But the mean time between failures doesn't mean anything if systems or equipment don't fail for 3 years, and even if they do fail, they're fixed remotely before they fail. So I've come up with a new term, mean time between prevented failures, and I call dibs on that if no one else has. And I think what we're going to see is a wholesale change in the way success is measured in the field service industry, with some old metrics being used in a new way, and some new metrics replacing some of the old metrics totally. There's going to be increased use and reliance on chatbots. I think that many organizations have other things they want to do first before getting involved in that. But the more progressive, aggressive, and larger companies are already doing those kinds of things. We're also likely to see, and in some cases begrudgingly, more integration and interaction between service, manufacturing, production, sales, and marketing. It's always been beneficial to do that in the past, but it's tough to get sales and marketing people sometimes to agree on something, or service and manufacturing or production people to agree on something. Now they're going to have to work together for the benefit not only of the customer, but for the benefit of just getting things done internally. There'll be less departmental or divisional silos as a result, hopefully. And there'll be more reliance and more use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. We're already seeing that. And even if we're not seeing it, it's there. So these are the kinds of things that I've been thinking about. And these are the things I believe that you all should be thinking about too. So anyway, this is my first COVID-19 video podcast. I hope you learned something from it. I hope there were some takeaways. If the only thing you take away from this is, hey, Pollock must be a baby boomer. I see all those Beatle things up there, and they're my Mark McGuire and Barry Bonds signed baseballs, and to my left, there's my signed Mickey Mantle hat and stuff like that. So we baby boomers are still around, and what we have to offer to all of you is a little bit more experiential learning that you may find that you don't get from others. There are there's a very large number of sharp younger people out there, but they haven't lived through the terror attacks, the economic crashes and things like that, and how they've impacted the field service industry. And again, this is a little bit different, but some of it has a common thread running through it. So I hope this was informative. You can look for more podcasts on my blog site, and that's www.pollockonservice.com. All one word, pollockonservice.com. So thanks very much. Stay well, stay healthy. And I'll be in touch. Thanks very much. Bye.